How to lock up a small multifamily property, even if you have no idea what you're doing. That's the topic of today's show, and real excited for today's question. Actually was sent in by a listener, so thanks for sending that. Before we jump into today's episode, if you have not been to our website and you are looking to lock up big, fat, juicy wholesale deals, and you don't know what to say to a seller or how to say it, I've got a gift for you. Go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. And there you could download the very same script that we use in our business to lock up deals day after day after day. I can tell you this thing is proven. It works. I don't care if you can't get 2 words out of your mouth. If you have this thing, you're going to know how to screen a seller and decide if you've got a contender or a pretender. Basically, deal or no deal. So go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script and download a free copy today. So that being said, let's go ahead and listen to today's question.
Hey, okay, Todd. So told you earlier about the fourplex property we closed and got a big payday. So through that seller, one of his partners on that property has reached out to us and dropped 7 properties in our lap. And actually, the 8th one is an 11-unit apartment complex. And it's a deal. We've never done something this big. He's already opened up, told me he paid $45,000 per door, and I offered $50,000 per door today, and he kind of shot that down. And I just kind of would like some advice on going after this big property.
So great question. Thanks for sending in. Lots of lessons here. Lots of lessons. So the first thing that I would tell any listener, if you're listening to the podcast, is when you're talking to a seller and you're doing a deal, whether you've done a deal or you haven't done a deal, you always want to say, hey, do you have any other properties you're thinking about selling? A few podcasts ago, we actually had Joseph and Ryan on, and they did I think an 11 package deal from a seller they did 1 deal with. And so you can see that from this one fourplex that you've done, and any listener, if you're listening to this, right, he threw in another 7 properties, and one of them is this nice, juicy 11-unit apartment building. So you could tell the seller is already motivated because they've done some business with you. Now they know, like, and trust you, right? You've got the in. This is great. And so with some adjustments here, let's lock this sucker up. Now, I can't promise you that we will, but I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to try to put you in the best position possible. So how do you value multifamily? You know, it's going to be, if you're going to be wholesaling it, you're going to be looking at it a little bit differently than if you're going to be trying to take the deal down, right? But you have to get in the shoes of your buyer. So my recommendation here is, number one, is money loves speed. Okay, money loves speed. So do not get caught up in the numbers too much, right? You want to obviously use numbers and use some of the tricks that I'm going to give you today. But remember, money loves speed. So get the sucker under contract for a decent price. Do not delay. I've seen this too many times where people get like, oh, what do I do? It's a multifamily deal and I'm used to single family, right? Get in motion, meet with the seller, get the contract, and lock it up. Okay, I can't overemphasize that enough. Now, that being said, we've got to lock it up for the right price. I wouldn't analyze that too much, though, because if I'm too high, I could renegotiate that later. But I'm not going to jump into a deal knowing I have to renegotiate it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about multifamily. I haven't talked a lot about this podcast, but today, hey, it's a great day. So multifamily properties are valued on something called a cap rate. Okay, what is a cap rate? Basically, the cap rate is what is the return on cash if I was going to pay cash for this property and not get a loan. Okay, so for example, I'll just use a nice 10-unit apartment building. If you paid $1 million for a 10-unit apartment building, and after all the expenses are paid, so this is really, really important. After all the expenses are paid, that means all the repairs, all the vacancy, all the management, all the insurance, all the property taxes, right? Your licensing fees, if it's available, if you've got a property manager, all this stuff, after all those expenses and all the rents are collected, what is the net income of the property, not the gross, okay, not the rents collected. That is the gross income, and that tells you very little. But what is the net, which is the most important number? Okay, that number, okay, is the net operating income, right? That's a very easy term because it sounds exactly what it sounds like it means, right? Net operating income. So for example, if you've got $1 million property and let's say that you've got 10 units and they're renting out for $1,000 each, right? A month. And let's keep it really easy. And let's say that for whatever reason, that property collects $100,000 a year in income, or $120,000 in income. That's the gross operating income. So after you take all the expenses, let's pretend, and again, these numbers are going to deviate, but let's say it's a 50% expense ratio. What's an expense ratio? That's the cost, right, to operate the building. So let's say they only keep 50% of the money, which is not that unrealistic, right? Some people might collect a little bit more, 10 to 15%. But let's just say $60,000. The $60,000 is the net operating income. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the net operating income. Okay. The net operating income. Okay. And I'm going to divide that by the purchase price. Okay. And that's going to give me the cap rate. So I'm going to take the net operating income. Okay. And then I'm going to divide that by the quote unquote purchase price. And that is the cap rate. Why do people do this? Well, that's how normal in the industry standard for valuing a multifamily property. So once I figured out the cap rate from my building, I now will go out and I will see what the market cap rate is for the market. So find out what investors are buying at. And so let's say that I'm getting in at a 6 cap rate. And right now the market is paying, everyone's buying at a 7. Right. Well, now I really don't have a deal. Right. Knows that you know that you are probably too high. If I can buy at an 8 cap rate, right? Let's pretend like I can get that building for, I don't know, $800,000 instead of $1 million. And now I know that I can sell it at a 6 cap rate, right? That if I could pick it up at 800, now I could sell it for $1 million. Now I can make a $200,000 spread. So you can read more about cap rates, but basically you've got to figure out what cap rate you're at. And then you got to figure out what people are buying at, right? And then lock the building up in a contract for the rate that you want, right? And then sell it for that price. Now that's the more technical way to do this. And it works. Now there are some other factors there, by the way. If the rents are really, really low and all someone has to do, and the property is well managed, well, I shouldn't say well managed if the rents are low, but if the property is fully occupied and somewhat managed, but the rents are low and all a new owner has to come in and raise rents, there's some wiggle room there. Someone might be willing to pay more for that building and a lower cap rate because they know that they can actually increase their return almost immediately, right? But that's another way to look at it. The second thing, though, is that you also could have a pool of cash buyers who buy multifamily on standby. And you could say, hey, what would you pay for this, right? You could have them sign a non-circumvent agreement and get their quote on it, send it to the buyers, find out what they would pay, then go back and lock up the property to the seller. So that's the easy way to do it from there. So that's if you don't want to do that, just find out what the buyers are doing. I would recommend finding those buyers, right? Talk to some multifamily brokers in the area. And you could also, by the way, ask a broker if they have any buyers who'd be interested in your building as long as they signed a non-circumvent agreement, and find out what that building is worth. Notice I'm pushing you towards action here, right? I don't know the specifics of the building here, but you could figure out the cap rate, or you call a commercial broker, in town who deals in multifamily and see what they think it's worth. And all you got to do is negotiate the spread. Let me give you a third option here. And the third option is, hey, if the deal is good enough, right, you might want to take this sucker down. Now, I don't know 100% the specifics here, but you could lock it up and then you could buy it with some partners, right? Find partners who have money, who want to do a deal, have them fund it. You buy it, get in it, manage well, raise rents, get good management, paint the outside, put a nice sign up in front, sweep the sidewalks, get out the bad tenants, get the good tenants, get this thing cranking, and then sell it a year from now. And now you can pay long-term capital gains instead of regular income tax. So what is that? That is basically whenever you wholesale a property, you're going to pay just a regular income amount. If you hold a property like this for a year, you will pay a much lower tax amount. Of course, talk to your CPA or tax accountant. They're going to give you that legal and tax advice, but that's another way that you could look at it. All right. So to summarize, number one, figure out what cap rates are in your area for an 11 or 15 unit building. Take a look at the cap rate on your building, figure that out. If you want to know how to do cap rates, you can also Google that some more. But create a spread, right? If you're going to buy at an 8, you can sell at a 6. If you're going to buy at a 10, you could sell at an 8, whatever that is, but create a spread. Number 2, if you're not 100% sure, then you could call a commercial broker in town and they can give you a value on the property of what it would sell for to some of their buyers. You're probably going to have to pay them a commission, right? Then go back and negotiate with the seller. Okay. And if you don't want to do that, third is if it's a good deal and maybe you don't have buyers, you could actually lock it up under contract. Yes. Go ahead and do that. Make sure you have some out clauses so that you could inspect the property, look at the rent rolls, verify the rent, look at the property condition, all these things, right? You can get a partner, have them fund it, do the deal, get it managed, hire a property manager, raise rents, clean the building, do all that, right? And sell the property for top dollar, make, a few $100,000 and pay long-term capital gains instead of short-term capital gains. And you are off to the races. Plus, you're going to get some depreciation. And that's a topic for another episode, but depreciation basically will help obliterate your tax bill. So I really hope you enjoyed today's show. By the way, I'd love to hear more. If you liked a little talk today on multifamily, you can just email back, support at nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. I'd love to hear about that. Also, if you have not downloaded the script, go to support at nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script to download that script today. And I will talk to you on the next episode.